He found a lost alien girl, but then two beautiful alien women came knocking at his door. Night presses down on Corellis Quay. Floating platforms creak under constant waves. Steel anchors groan inside the roots of giant mangrove trees that hold the city in place. Rain hits the decks hard enough to sting. Rowan Cade moves along a narrow pier with purpose. His jacket is zipped high, hood tightened. He checks ropes, lanterns, walkways, everything that might fail during the blue surge. It's his routine. He's been a tidal cartographer on this megacity for 3 years, mapping safe routes during storms, predicting dangerous currents, and helping prevent drownings. Before that, he served as a scout medic in the Border Navy. He left after losing more people than he saved. The quiet work here keeps his mind from spiraling into memories he can't fix. His mission tonight is simple: inspect the southern docks before the worst of the tide hits. He wants to finish quickly. His mind is heavy, tired, and craving silence. He checks a rope line. Then something interrupts him, a faint breath sharp and fast, from under a plastic tarp near the pier's edge. He freezes. His instincts rise first, combat tension in the shoulders, lungs cooling, stance widening. Not fear of an attack, fear of finding someone injured, like the war days all over again. He crouches, slowly lifts the tarp. A small alien girl curls there, blue skin drained pale from cold, long blonde hair plastered against her temples, bare feet pressed against her ribs for warmth. No blanket, just a bent metal spoon in her fist like a weapon. She looks at Rowan with wide, alert eyes, exhausted but ready to fight or run. Rowan recognizes trauma immediately. He feels guilt. He knows this looked too well. A child left to survive alone. His breath tightens. His inner voice says, "Don't start something you can't finish." But the stronger thought follows. "If I walk away, she dies." "I'm Rowan," he says, keeping his tone steady. "I'm going to lift you." "Okay." No answer, only fast breathing. He sees no visible wounds. Hypothermia is the threat. He slides his arms under her, carefully supporting her spine. She's trembling but does not resist. She's too cold to care. He rises and holds her tighter to share his body heat. Her skin feels like ice against his chest. His boots hit the boards, one solid step at a time. He keeps his stance wide. One slip near the edge and she'd fall into the dark water. His eyes lock forward. He doesn't say anything else. She doesn't trust words yet. His home sits above the pier, small, practical, built by his own hands. He shoulders the door open. Warm air spills out. He lowers her onto a stool near the stove and lights the burner. Fast, efficient. He learned to move like this under pressure. She watches him, eyes tracking every movement like she expects a sudden change. He pours warm Orvan water into a cup and drops in Meyer honey. The scent of minerals and sweetness fills the air. He wraps her in a dry wool throw. She winces when fabric touches her shoulders. Her skin is raw from salt and cold. Rowan slows down, adjusts the blanket more gently. "Drink," he says. She hesitates, but takes the cup. The heat makes her flinch. She tries again, small sips. Her breathing deepens. He forces himself to talk, not because she needs words, but because silence allows fear to grow. "You're safe for now," he mutters. He hears himself, and the phrasing bothers him. For now. He hates how temporary everything feels here. He checks her limbs for injury, subtle, respectful. She doesn't pull away, just watches. "Who left you? Why here? How long have you been hiding?" That last question lands hard in his chest. He doesn't say it aloud. He cooks fast, tide boar strips sizzling in a pan, Zyron crumbs crisping in Meyer butter. The smell changes the room's entire mood. She leans forward. Hunger overrides fear. He slides the plate over. She grabs the food without waiting, chewing with focus and need. The sound of eating comforts Rowan. People want to live fight back like this. He pulls down an old shirt, smallest he owns, and cuts a short rope to tie at her waist. It becomes a dress. She examines the rope, not like she's trying to judge its strength. She adjusts it until it's tighter. Someone taught her not to trust things to stay together. Rowan notices every detail. Every sign of past neglect. "Do you know your way home?" he asks softly. No answer, just a tiny shake of her head. He nods once. Decision made. He spreads a tidal chart on the table. Marks the areas where children sometimes get lost during the blue surge. Points to a lantern symbol. "I'll post a found child beacon at the docks at first light. Nobody will take you unless I approve it." He says it firmly, making sure she understands control stays here between them. She stares. Something shifts in her expression. Not trust yet, but recognition. He doesn't want to break that small opening by overtalking, so he backs off and begins preparing a bed near the stove. He lays out blankets neatly, puts a rolled sweater under the pillow area so her head won't rest on wood. He places a copper bowl beside the pillow and quietly sets her bent spoon inside it, close enough to reach. Self-defense allowed. Safety with dignity. "Sleep here," he says. It's warm. She climbs under the blanket but keeps her eyes on him as he turns off the lamp. Blue tide light leaks through the shutters. He sits in a chair by the door, not because he doubts her, because danger loves silence. His mind runs a quick risk list. Whoever abandoned her might come back. Someone might accuse him of kidnapping. The city might force him to hand her to a registry office. He hates all of those possibilities. He wants one outcome. She stays alive and stays with someone who gives a damn. Her breathing steadies. Shoulders loosen. The spoon remains in her hand, just in case. Rowan stays awake, listening. The rain softens. Planks shift. Distant footsteps come and go. Nothing gets near the door. Finally, he lets himself think the truth. I don't know who she is, but she's mine to protect now. His eyes close for a second, just enough to reset. Then he stands and checks the shutters, the bar, the stove. He rehearses what comes next. Beacon posted, supplies bought, no authorities unless absolutely necessary. When he sits again, he watches her sleep. She curls around the shell bracelet he tied earlier. It shines faintly against skin that finally looks warm. In his chest, something he thought was gone, something quiet and human, lifts a little. The storm hasn't ended, but she isn't facing it alone anymore. Morning rises slowly over Corellis Quay. Gray light filters through thin shutters. The stove still warms the air. Rowan Cade sits upright in the same chair where he guarded the night. His neck aches. His eyes burn, but he doesn't complain. He watches the girl breathe, steady now, not shallow and panicked like last night. She wakes the moment he stands. Her hand grabs for the bent spoon out of instinct. Rowan pauses, palms open. "Breakfast," he says. "Hot food first. Beacon after." She studies his face, checking for lies. She releases the spoon. Rowan exhales quietly. One wall of fear lowered. He cooks again, Tide Boar slices and crisp Zyron crumbs. He places the meal where she can reach it without leaving the safety of the bed. She devours it faster than yesterday. He notices a small but important change. She looks around the room while eating. Scanning. Not for escape. For understanding. She wants to know where she is, who he is, what happens next. Rowan decides she deserves answers. "I work here," he says while washing the pan, voice calm. "I map the tide routes. When water rises, people need to know the safe paths." He glances toward her. "I didn't always do this. I used to help soldiers survive. Different kind of map." She nods, doesn't fully grasp the details, but understands the job keeps people alive. That matters to her. He ties his boots tight and grabs the folded beacon notice he wrote before dawn. The girl watches his every move. When he heads to the door, she stands, gripping the blanket with one hand. "You don't have to stay alone," Rowan says gently. "But this part will go faster if I go alone." She doesn't like that answer. Her fingers tighten around the blanket's edge. She may not speak much, but the fear is clear. He might not come back. Rowan kneels so they're at eye height. "I come back," he states. Firm, direct. "You're staying here. Safe. Door locked. Spoon where you can reach it." He nods to her weapon. Respect. Her lips tighten, but she nods. He locks the door from the outside and tests the handle twice. She watches through the shutter cracks. He doesn't rush the reassurance. He gives a small gesture, 2 fingers tapping his heart, then pointing at the door. "I return here." Her jaw loosens slightly. Then he moves into the rain. The walkway below sways with the tide. Vendors set up steam carts. Dockhands curse the weather. Rowan posts the beacon notice at a public lantern. A simple message with a drawn mark of his house symbol. Anyone looking for a lost girl can find them. No registry officers required unless he allows it. He forces himself to stand there a moment, prepared for someone to run toward him. No one does. The lantern flickers, uninterested. He turns home quickly. When he opens the door, she is right behind it, spoon in hand, breathing fast. She lowers it when she sees him. Relief floods across her face before she hides it again. Rowan pretends not to notice. She was scared he'd vanish. "Food again?" she asks, quiet but confident. Rowan laughs under his breath. "Short. Honest. We just ate. We can do something else." He shows her the tide chart again and points to symbols. Lanterns, piers, markets. He explains the colors. Orange for rising currents, green for safe footing. Practical things she might need later. She follows attentively. Survival knowledge is a language she understands. Then a sound interrupts them, a soft knock at the door. Not urgent, but insistent. Rowan's muscles tense the way they always do before he sees what's waiting outside. He places himself between the girl and the door. He cracks it open. Two figures stand in the rain, both alien, both breathing fast, as if they've run across half the quay. Their skin is the same blue as the girl's, but warmer, healthier. Their long blonde hair clings to their faces, soaked by the storm. The first woman stands tall, chin lifted even while shivering. Her eyes, a sharp ocean green, lock onto Rowan with protectiveness ready to ignite. She wears a thin storm veil wrap, tied high at the hip. Salt water shines across her bare legs. The second woman is slightly shorter, softer in posture. Her slate-black tied skirt sticks to her thighs, and an oversized white Fisher shirt slips off one shoulder, exposing the smooth line beneath. She holds both hands tight against her chest, like she's guarding something delicate inside herself. The taller one speaks first. "Ayara," she says, voice tight. "Her mother." The other places a hand over her heart. "Saurian," she says softly. "Also her mother." Rowan's brain stalls for a second, not from confusion, but from the shock of how fast life changes. He turns slightly to look at the girl. Her eyes widen. She runs out from behind him and throws her arms first around Ayara, then around Saurian. Both women drop to their knees, embracing her from both sides. Their shoulders shake with relief. Rowan steps back, giving space. He recognizes this scene. Reunion. Fragile emotions. A moment where one wrong move can snap everything. He stays silent. Ayara stands first. She eyes Rowan again, scanning him like a threat she hasn't decided on yet. Her voice sharpens. "You found her." Rowan nods once. "I did. You posted a beacon," she challenges. "So you could find her," Rowan replies calmly. Saurian rises slower, keeping one hand on the girl's shoulder. She looks at Rowan's small home, the blankets, the braided bracelet he tied, and her expression softens with gratitude, but also worry. People who help sometimes want something in return. Ayara notices this too. Her posture stiffens. Rowan reads all of it easily. Suspicion isn't new. He deserves it until he proves otherwise. "I made no report," he says. Clear. No registry. No officers. Ayara glances down to hide a flicker of relief. Saurian's grip on the girl relaxes slightly. Then Rowan catches something else. Both women flinched when he said, "officers." There's a story there. Something about fear of authority. Something deep. He'll need to unravel that later, carefully. "Come inside," he says. "You're freezing." He steps aside, not touching any of them. Ayara hesitates before crossing the threshold. Saurian follows with a breath held in her chest, like entering might be a mistake. The girl stays close to Rowan's leg now, not clinging, but choosing a second point of safety. Ayara notices. Her eyes narrow, not at the girl, but at Rowan. A subtle warning, "Don't take my place." Rowan doesn't respond. He focuses on the kettle instead. Steam rises. The stove clicks. The room feels smaller with 3 adults inside, but warmer too. He hands towels to the mothers first. Dry clothes can come later. Right now, respecting comfort matters. The girl points proudly at her shell bracelet. I made knots, she says. Ayara blinks, surprised her daughter spoke so soon, surprised she's comfortable here. Rowan feels tension shift, a small victory, but he also sees the question burning behind Ayara's eyes. Why did you help her? What do you want? Are we safe here? He doesn't look away. He answers in the simplest way possible. You're all safe, for as long as you need. Ayara doesn't thank him. She just studies him longer, trying to decide what kind of man offers safety without bargaining first. Sorian whispers to the girl, He cared for you? The girl nods. Once. Hard. Silence follows, heavy, fragile. 3 strangers. 1 small room. A storm still raging outside. Rowan doesn't know what tomorrow looks like, but he knows one thing already. He won't let this child and her mothers go through another night alone in the rain. The moment locks into place. Whatever their story is, it has become his too. The storm eases, but tension inside the small home thickens. Ayara and Sorian stand close to the child, shoulders touching, forming a silent shield around her. Rowan gives them space, busying his hands with the kettle, but he keeps them in the corner of his vision. He sees the distrust, the worry, and something else, fear of losing what they just regained. He points toward the table. Sit, please. He keeps the request precise, not demanding. Ayara stays, standing a second longer, testing his tone, waiting for hidden conditions. When she senses none, she guides the child into one chair. Sorian takes the other. Ayara finally sits, posture straight, ready to spring up if needed. Rowan sets warm Orvan water before each of them. Honey for the child, plain for the mothers. He knows stillness can be worse than chaos, so he addresses the questions they carry. You're wondering if anyone else knows she's here. Ayara's gaze sharpens. Sorian's fingers curl around her cup. He answers quickly. No one. And the beacon? Ayara asks. Anonymous, Rowan says. Only description. No location. The mothers exchange a small look, confirmation that he anticipated their fear. Rowan continues. I found her during the surge under a tarp. Cold, hungry. She didn't speak at first. He glances at the girl. She's strong. She held on. The girl watches him like she's waiting for him to mention her weakness. He doesn't. She relaxes against Sorian's arm. Ayara studies him again. Why didn't you call the registry? They would have placed her in a safe facility. Rowan doesn't hide his reaction. Disgust flickers in his eyes before he masks it. Facilities are where children become problems instead of people. Silence. Heavy. True. Sorian looks down. That sentence clearly hits a memory she wants buried. To shift the mood, Rowan kneels near the girl's level. Not too close. Can you tell me your name now? The mothers exchange another glance. Ayara nods to her daughter. The girl hesitates, then whispers, Alia. Rowan repeats it once. Alia. He smiles, not wide, not dramatic, just enough. The girl's shoulders lower. Ayara's voice is stiff when she responds. Her name isn't for strangers. Rowan stands. I won't use it outside this room. Ayara swallows that answer, unsure whether to appreciate it or challenge it. Sorian touches her arm softly, calming the spike of defensiveness. Rowan gestures to a leaking seam in the ceiling. Roof sail needs work before the next tide. If you're staying the night, you'll want that fixed. Ayara stiffens at the word staying. When not imposing, we can leave once she warms up. Rowan doesn't drop his gaze. The quay isn't safe for anyone exhausted, especially not a child. You stay until she can walk steady and breathe easy. Ayara tries to argue, but Sorian stops her with a subtle shake of the head. Reality wins over pride. Before Rowan can return to the repairs, a short, derisive whistle pierces the air from outside. A voice follows, loud on purpose. Didn't realize Cade kept company now. 3 of them? You charging Ren by the head. Rowan's jaw tightens. He steps to the door and pushes it open. A neighbor, Dre, a man who drinks too much fish ale and minds everyone's business, leans on a railing, staring into Rowan's home with greasy curiosity. Dre licks his teeth. Blue skins, huh? Bold. Better hide them before inspections come. Rowan doesn't raise his voice, doesn't threaten, He just steps forward until Dre has to take one step back. "You don't look at my door again," Rowan says, tone steady as concrete. "Ever." Dre opens his mouth to spit some insult, but Rowan takes one step closer and, very calmly, reaches out and pushes the rail Dre leans on. Not enough to knock him off the platform, just enough to force him to scramble. A clear message: "I won't let you make them a target." Dre mutters something under his breath and backs away into the rain. Rowan closes the door, turns around. Ayara and Sorian stare at him differently now, not as a threat, as someone who will stand in front of one. Ayara's voice softens half a degree. "People here talk like that often, if they think they can get away with it," Rowan answers. The girl, Alia, moves toward him quietly. She looks up at him with her bent spoon in hand, like she's choosing a side. Rowan crouches. "You don't need the spoon here," he says. Then he adds, so she knows it's her choice, "but you can keep it close." She nods, pressing the spoon against her wrist under the blanket. Ayara sees that too. Her breathing changes. Raw gratitude she refuses to show. Sorian shows hers openly. Her eyes glisten. Rowan decides the moment needs structure before feelings overwhelm the room. "You're tired," he says. "You should rest. You can take my bed." He gestures to the back room. "I'll take the floor." Ayara stands immediately. "You don't give orders to us." "It's not an order," Rowan replies. "It's the best option." Ayara opens her mouth to argue again. Sorian gently places a hand on her arm. "We accept." Satisfied the argument won't escalate, Rowan returns to the stove. He speaks over his shoulder, not trying to make it emotional. "No one gets sick in my house." Alia tugs her mother's toward the bed, blanket dragging behind her. Ayara hesitates, torn between pride and exhaustion. Sorian nudges her forward. They disappear into the back room, door open enough that Rowan remains visible in the frame, a protective silhouette. Rowan lowers himself into the chair again, legs tense, alert. He has no idea how long they'll stay, or what their story is, or why two mothers had to search in fear instead of going to authorities. But one thing is already certain. This family trusts no one, and they're giving him a chance anyway. He leans back, eyes fixed on the sleeping shape of Alia between her mothers. This isn't charity, it's responsibility. A new mission dropped into his hands without warning. He accepts it, because turning away now would break something in him that he knows may never heal. And outside, the tide turns. The city breathes. Trouble waits. But inside this small home, for the first time in far too long, he feels purpose again. Rain still hangs in the air, but the world outside has softened to a gray calm. Rowan Cade wakes before dawn. The storm has passed, leaving a wet shine on every plank of Corellis Quay. The smell of salt and wood oil fills the room. He stands quietly, careful not to wake anyone. In the back room, Ayara sleeps on her side with one arm draped over her daughter. Sorian rests near them, her hand still clutching the edge of the blanket like she's afraid someone might pull it away. Their faces are peaceful now. No tension, no guarded eyes. For the first time, they look like a real family. Rowan brews furlan-seed coffee, the bitter aroma grounding him. He moves slowly, fixing a small breakfast, fried Tybor slices, Draxon mushrooms, and Zyron breadcrumbs to soak the oil. When the scent drifts through the house, soft movement comes from the back room. Alia appears first, hair messy, eyes bright. "You cook every morning?" she asks, voice small but awake. "Every day," Rowan says, sliding her a small plate. "If you skip it, you start the day wrong." Ayara emerges next, pulling her storm veil wrapped tighter around her shoulders. She looks at the food, then at Rowan. "You didn't have to cook for us. I cook for whoever's here." Rowan replies simply. "You're here." Sorian follows quietly, her wet curls tied back with a strip of rope. She sits across from him, and for the first time, she doesn't look down. She studies his face, noticing the small scars near his temple, the calm way he moves. "You were in the Border Navy," she says softly. "We saw the mark on your wrist." Rowan nods. "Scout medic. Long time ago." Ayara watches him with a calculating stare. "That's why you move like a soldier." "Old habits," he says. "Sometimes useful." The air between them stays tense. Not hostile, but heavy with questions. Ayara still doesn't trust him completely, and Rowan doesn't blame her. She's protecting her child. He recognizes that instinct. He changes the subject. The roof sail needs fixing. I'll need an extra pair of hands. Ayara folds her arms. We can help. We're not helpless. He nods, respecting the tone. Didn't think you were. They work together on the roof sail, the morning light reflecting off wet metal and rope. Rowan holds a new panel steady, while Ayara threads the binding line through the hooks. Her fingers move with practiced precision, fast, confident. She knows tools, knows knots. He watches her hands for a moment before realizing he's staring too long. He focuses back on the work. Below, Sorian tends to the fire, drying clothes on a rope line. Alia sits near her, tying shell cords. The domestic calm feels fragile, but real. Rowan tests the new rope, tugging hard. It holds. Good, he says. No leaks next time. Ayara gives a short nod. Her face softens slightly. You work like you mean it. I don't do half measures, Rowan replies. As they climb down, the sound of footsteps echoes from the walkway outside. A group of dock neighbors pass, talking loud enough for everyone to hear. Did you see Cade's place? He's got blue skins staying with him. 2 of them and a kid. He always was strange. Someone should report it before it turns into trouble. The voices fade, but the damage is done. Ayara's jaw tightens. You see? That's what happens. Wherever we go, someone wants to make it dirty. Rowan wipes his hands on a rag. Then they can choke on their own gossip. You're not going anywhere. Ayara looks at him sharply. Why would you risk that? Rowan shrugs, not to dismiss the question, but to keep it simple. Because she's a kid. Because you deserve to breathe without looking over your shoulder. He glances at Sorian, who's been listening quietly. Because decent people shouldn't have to hide. Sorian's eyes soften, but Ayara stays rigid. Words like that are easy. The last human who said something similar sold us out to registry patrols. Rowan meets her gaze directly. Then watch me instead of believing me. You'll see the difference. For a long second, she studies him, searching for any trace of deception. She finds none. The rest of the day passes in cautious rhythm. They share lunch, work through silence, and slowly learn the edges of one another's presence. When Rowan catches Ayara checking the door latch, he says nothing. He understands. When Sorian thanks him for the repaired roof, he nods but doesn't make it sentimental. Actions are enough. As dusk falls, the city glows with tide lanterns floating along the canals. People start preparing for the foam lantern procession, a local custom marking the end of the blue surge. Rowan sees Alia's curiosity and nods toward the door. You want to go? She looks at her mother's. Ayara hesitates, then nods once. If it's safe, it will be, Rowan assures. They walk together through narrow bridges and crowded stalls. The air smells of fried fish, hot spices, and wet wood. Vendors shout, lights shimmer on puddles, and laughter ripples across the platforms. It's the first time Alia has smiled since he found her. But peace doesn't last. Near the procession start, a group of vendors whisper too loudly. Look at them. 2 mothers, no man. Old sea customs. Disgusting. And now, one human playing father? Rowan feels the heat climb up his spine. He watches Ayara's back stiffen, sees Sorian's hand pull Alia close. The child's face falls, fear creeping back. Rowan steps forward, placing himself between the gossipers and the family. His voice is low but firm. You finished talking? The nearest vendor sneers. We're just saying what everyone's thinking. Rowan doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. You'll stop thinking out loud then. Something in his tone, calm, steady, like a man used to giving orders in worse places, makes the vendor step back. The others avert their eyes. Rowan lifts Alia into his arms. The child holds onto his jacket tightly. He looks over the crowd, then down at Ayara and Sorian. They're together, with me. The words slice through the noise. Silence follows. No one argues. No one mocks. Ayara's eyes glisten, caught between shock and something warmer, relief she didn't expect to feel. Sorian exhales, tears mixing with the rain. The moment is small, but it changes everything. Later, back home, Rowan sets Alia down on the bed and drapes his jacket over her. She's asleep before he finishes. Sorian whispers a quiet thank you near the stove. Ayara lingers at the doorway, watching him with unreadable eyes. You shouldn't have done that, she says finally. Would you rather I stayed quiet? She looks down, then back at him. No, I'm just not used to someone choosing our side. Rowan nods once. Get used to it. She doesn't answer. She turns toward the back room, but stops halfway. You really believe people like us deserve peace? I don't believe, Rowan says, checking the locks one last time. I decide. Ayara studies him for a long moment. Then she says softly, then maybe we decide too. He meets her gaze. No more tension, just understanding. Outside, the lanterns drift across the tide, glowing softly against the dark water. Inside, the house is quiet, safe, and full for the first time. Rowan sits near the stove again, not as a guard this time, but as part of something new. He listens to the faint sound of 3 steady breaths in the next room. And for the first time in years, he realizes he isn't just surviving, he's living. Rowan wakes to the sound of soft footsteps brushing over wooden planks. The house is still dark, but morning is close. He hears quiet voices, Ayara and Sorian whispering in the back room, their tones gentle and low, not full of fear like before. He stays where he is for a moment, letting himself register that this is the sound of a family settling in, not a threat creeping closer. He stands slowly, stretching tight muscles. When he walks toward the kitchen, he sees Alia sitting cross-legged on the floor, tying a new cord into her bracelet. Her blonde hair glows faintly in the dim blue light slipping through the shutters. She looks up at him, eyes clear and steady. You came back, she says simply. Rowan nods. I said I would. She accepts that. No more questions. That trust, earned one action at a time, lands heavier on him than any weapon he's carried. Ayara and Sorian join them, both trying to look composed. But Rowan notices small changes. Ayara's shoulders aren't pulled as tight. Sorian's hands aren't fidgeting with her sleeves. Fear a step back? Only a little, but enough. Rowan moves to the stove. Breakfast, he says. Then we figure out what comes next. While he cooks, Thai Borgin, thicker cuts, more seasoning this time. Ayara watches his method. She notices something and points with her chin. You use your offhand to test the heat. You were burned before. Rowan flips the pan. Worse than burned. She doesn't pry. She just nods, accepting the piece of history without requiring the whole story. Sorian places plates on the table, aligning them perfectly like she's done it 1,000 times in better homes. They eat quietly at first. Then Sorian clears her throat. We need to know what you expect from us. Rowan places his fork down and looks at her directly. Nothing. Ayara's eyes narrow. She doesn't believe nothing. People always want something. What about your neighbors? She asks. They won't stay silent. They don't need to like it, Rowan replies. They just need to stay out of this house. Ayara leans forward. And if they don't, Rowan doesn't hesitate. Then they learn the hard way. The answer shocks both mothers. Not because it's violent, but because it's so calm. He isn't bragging. He isn't posturing. He has already decided he will protect them. Before Ayara can respond, a light knock sounds at the door. Rowan's entire body reacts. Feet grounded, shoulders squared, breath slowed. But his expression stays neutral. He opens the door carefully. A dock official stands there, thin, polished uniform, eyes sharp like he hasn't slept. He holds a tablet and flashes a stiff smile. Morning, Cade, the official says. We're conducting standard post-surge welfare checks. Rowan blocks the doorway without appearing rude. All fine here. The official tries to peek past him. Rowan's body shifts slightly, closing the angle entirely. We've had reports, the man continues, voice tightening. Residents saw unfamiliar individuals entering your home. For their safety and yours, we'd like to confirm your guests are registered. Ayara stiffens behind Rowan. Sorian's hand grips the edge of the table. Alia moves closer to them, spoon ready. Rowan keeps his voice calm, but every word is a wall. No registry check is required. My home, my guests. The official's smile strains. That isn't how the law. Rowan steps forward, forcing the official to step back. You have no cause for entry. You have no paperwork. You have no authority here unless I give it. The official swallows, eyes darting to Rowan's wrist, where the faint border Navy medic mark still sits. Recognition dawns. I see, the official mutters. We'll revisit another time. No, you won't, Rowan replies. He shuts the door with controlled force. He waits, listening to the official's steps retreat completely before he turns around. Ayara and Sorian stare at him, surprised, suspicious, and undeniably relieved. You didn't have to risk that, Ayara says, voice low. Yes, Rowan corrects, I did. Sorian's voice trembles slightly. They'll come back. Rowan nods. Let them. I'll be ready. Ayara steps closer. Her eyes search his face for lies, weakness, or hidden motives. She finds none. Her posture shifts, no longer pure defense, but cautious respect. Then we stay, Ayara says. It isn't a request. It's a decision. Until we understand why she was taken from us, and who is still hunting her. That is the first time she admits there's more to their story. Something darker than being lost in a storm. Rowan sits at the table. Tell me, he says. Everything. Ayara opens her mouth. Stops. Looks to Sorian. Sorian exhales, trembling air, and finally begins. Alia wasn't lost, she says. She was taken. Ayara's jaw locks, and she finishes the sentence in a voice that has seen too much pain. They wanted to separate us. They said Alia needed testing. Rowan's pulse spikes. Testing. Authority interest in a child. That kind of talk doesn't end with families staying together. Alia clings to Sorian's arm. Rowan sees pure terror in her eyes. Not from the past. She's afraid the future will repeat it. He places his hand flat on the table. Slow. Deliberate. A vow forming. No one will take her again, he says. Not while I'm breathing. Ayara stares at him for a long 5 seconds. And just once she nods. And that small motion marks the moment their survival stops being only theirs and becomes his as well. The house stays silent after Sorian's words fade, but the tension says everything. Rowan takes in each face. Ayara's guarded anger, Sorian's quiet fear, and Alia pressed in her mother's sides, clutching the spoon so hard her knuckles pale. He speaks only when he knows his voice won't shake. No one here is alone in this. Ayara absorbs that slowly. She looks like she wants to thank him, but refuses to show vulnerability. Instead, she takes a slow breath and finally begins to explain. In the sea districts, birth and milk mothers raise a child together, she says, tone clipped but steady. The city says it's old tradition, unfit for modern families. Authorities hover. They call it concern. We call it control. Sorian picks up the thread. When Alia was born, they saw she had stronger lungs than expected. Her body holds breath longer underwater. They said she might be useful for her. Her voice tightens. She doesn't finish. She doesn't need to. Rowan's fists curl on the table. No slavers. No drones. But cruel intentions exist without guns or chains. He knows that too well. So you ran, he says quietly. Ayara nods once. They chased us with reports and papers. Not weapons. That's how they win. Only rules. And shame. She looks at Rowan directly. We thought if we could stay invisible long enough, the city would forget us. Rowan understands. Bureaucracy can be sharper than a blade. And Alia, he asks. Sorian looks at her daughter. She got tired. Cold night. Blue surge rising. We stopped to rest under a dock, just for an hour. When we woke, her eyes fill with guilt. She was gone. Ayara wipes a tear with the back of her hand. Angry, she let it show. We searched everywhere. 2 days. 3 nights. Her voice cracks on that number. We thought we lost her forever. Alia reaches out and squeezes Ayara's hand. It's a silent promise. I'm here now. Rowan stands. You'll never search for her alone again. Ayara doesn't thank him, but she doesn't block the moment, either. He changes the pace of the room. Let's go outside. Fresh air's better than fear. Ayara hesitates. Sorian nods. Together they dress Alia in Rowan's dry shirt and a new rope belt he ties carefully, not too tight. They walk out to the upper deck. No one speaks at first. The sky has cleared, but the walkway still glistens with storm water. Lanterns clank in the breeze. The city feels awake and indifferent, like it saw everything and pretends it didn't. Sorian leans on the railing. Ayara stands behind them like a guard. Rowan crouches near Alia, pointing out boats as they cut through the canal. He names them by type: cargo runner, ferry, fish barge. Alia watches closely, absorbing every detail. She's learning this world fast. You know, Rowan says quietly to her, "You're stronger than most grown men I've met." Alia looks up, confused. "What? You didn't give up," he says. "And you kept your spoon ready." He nods to her hand. She brightens a little, pride rising through the cracks of fear. Then Ayara's hand touches Rowan's shoulder. Unexpected, brief. She speaks low, so only he hears. "We don't understand you yet." Rowan shifts to face her. She doesn't pull her hand away. "You're human," Ayara says. "Most humans see us as strange. Lesser." She searches for the right accusation. "Why don't you?" Rowan doesn't soften the truth. "I've seen enough humans act like monsters to know the species label means nothing." Ayara studies him, longer this time. Less suspicion, more curiosity. Before she can respond, Sorian calls quietly, "Look." A small patrol skiff passes along the canal below. Not registry authorities, just a regular city check. But Alia presses against Sorian's hip, breathing faster. Rowan places a steady hand on the railing, positioning himself between them and the skiff's view. No one else notices, but Alia does. Her fear, this time, eases faster. After the patrol passes, Rowan speaks with calm precision. "We're not hiding. We're staying alert." "That's different." Ayara releases a breath she's been holding for years. They head inside again. Rowan starts heating water to bathe Alia's bare feet, red from cold days outside. Sorian kneels, rubbing warmth back into them carefully. Ayara stands behind them, hands flexing, like she wants to help but doesn't know how to comfort gently. Rowan sits near them, elbows on his knees. He looks directly at Ayara. "You're not prisoners," he says. "You can leave whenever you want." Ayara's jaw sets. "We're not leaving." She clarifies before he can misread it. "Not until we figure out why they want our daughter back so much." Sorian looks up from the water basin. Her voice is soft but firm. "We choose to stay. With you." Those words shift the ground under Rowan's feet more than any storm. He nods once. Then staying becomes our plan. Alia yawns, leaning into Sorian. The stove crackles. Ayara steps closer, closer still, until she's within Rowan's reach without effort. Not a threat, a decision. Rowan looks at each of them, realizing what formed in his house is more than temporary safety. It's a bond. Fragile, unofficial, real. He doesn't smile. Not yet, but a warmth builds behind his stern expression. Tonight, fear didn't win. Trust did. A small victory, but solid enough to build a life on. They finished the night with the simplest act of family, sharing silence around a warm stove, with 3 steady breaths and 1 human promise holding the walls together. Night folds over Curella's Quay again. Rain has stopped, but the tide's push against the foundation beams keeps the house vibrating in low, steady pulses. Rowan Cade moves through the small home, checking every latch and seam like a ritual. Window secure, stove warm, ropes tight. Not paranoia, preparedness. Ayara and Sorian settle Alia into the bed with clean clothes and a blanket Rowan dried earlier by the stove. The child's breathing evens quickly. Safe sleep comes easier tonight. Rowan finishes his final check and sits near the main door, arms resting on his knees. Ayara notices how his posture never really relaxes. Sorian notices too, but she reads something different in it. Not tension, protection. They join him quietly. Ayara leans against the counter, arms folded in thought. Sorian sits cross-legged on the floor, close enough to feel his warmth but not touching. Ayara is first to speak. "You behaved today like you were already part of this family." Rowan doesn't apologize. That's how it felt. Ayara studies him for a long moment, searching for something she can't quite name. Maybe the reason he acts without hesitation. Maybe the line where his protection ends. Maybe whether he will stay when trouble escalates. "What do you want from us?" she asks finally. He answers without pause. "Nothing you don't choose to give." Sorian's shoulders drop with relief. Ayara's pride keeps her expression stiff, but the tone of her voice softens. People who help often expect something later. Rowan doesn't break eye contact. If I expect anything, I'll say it before I do it. Ayara nods once. A quiet agreement. A promise of honesty returned. Sorian's fingers trace the floorboard line. We can't keep running forever, she says, almost to herself. And there it is, the truth they've held inside since fleeing. Exhaustion. They've fought enough just to stay alive. They want more than survival. Rowan sits up straighter. Then don't run. Fight from a home instead of a street corner. Ayara breathes slow. You think that's easy? No, Rowan says. But easy doesn't keep people alive. Sorian watches him with soft eyes. Why do you care so much? Rowan shifts his gaze to the bed where Alia sleeps. Because she looked at me like I mattered. Like I could make a difference again. He swallows the rest. Memories of soldiers who didn't make it, the weight he still carries. And because no child should sleep alone under a tarp. Ayara looks almost shaken by the sincerity in his voice. No performance. No ulterior motives. She takes a small step closer. You're willing to share risk with us? Yes. And if those officials return with papers? She presses. I refuse, Rowan says. And if they come with more than papers? Rowan turns toward her fully. His voice does not rise. It becomes colder, sharper. Then they learn there are places on this quay they shouldn't step. Ayara exhales a long breath, not fear, relief. She has been waiting for someone to say that out loud. Sorian speaks gently. You talk like you've defended people before. Rowan's jaw tightens. I have. He doesn't elaborate. They don't ask. He pushes himself up. You too should rest. Tomorrow we find work that keeps you close, but gives you routine. Ayara raises an eyebrow. Work, movement, purpose, income, he says. People trust what they see daily. You being here won't stay strange for long if you're part of the neighborhood. It's a strategy, not a hiding plan, but a living plan. Sorian nods quickly. I can sew, cook. I learn fast. Ayara hesitates. I can climb, haul nets, guard a stall. Rowan almost smiles. Good. Then tomorrow isn't feared. It's planned. Ayara steps forward again, close enough that Rowan notices the clean, sharp scent of rain still clinging to her skin. She searches his face with new eyes. You're different. Everyone is, Rowan answers. No, Ayara insists quietly. You choose people, even when there is risk. Her tone is cautious admiration, a vulnerability she didn't intend to show. Sorian rises and stands beside Rowan with shy certainty. We choose you too, she says, voice barely above a whisper. Rowan feels the weight of those words settle into his chest, solid, undeniable. Before he can respond, Alia stirs in the bed, mumbling a tiny sound. All three adults turn their heads instantly, instinctively. That symmetry, three different lives snapping into the same purpose, hits Rowan deeper than he expected. He lowers his voice, almost reverent. Get some sleep. I'll keep watch. Ayara touches his forearm lightly. A gesture of gratitude she tries to disguise as practicality. Not every night, she says. You don't have to carry all of us alone. He looks down at her hand. It's steady, warm, trusting. I know, he says. Sorian squeezes his other arm once, soft and sure. Rowan's breath catches for half a second. Connection doesn't come this easy for him. Yet here it is. Ayara takes Sorian's hand, and together they move to the back room. The door stays open, not because they distrust Rowan, but so he remains part of their safety. Rowan sits again, back straight, attention forward. But now, instead of the silent weight of solitary protection, there is a quiet presence behind that door. Not a burden, a reason. Outside, lanterns sway in the soft wind, and the tide hums against the beams like a heartbeat. Inside, Rowan watches over three lives that are no longer strangers. He doesn't say it aloud, but the truth lands firmly in his mind. He isn't just protecting them. He belongs to them now. Dawn creeps in through the shutters, warm and steady instead of cold and threatening. Rowan Cade wakes in the chair where he stayed the night, but something is different. He isn't alone in the room. Ayara sits beside him on the floor, back against his knee, eyes half open as if she never fully slept. Sorian lies on her side nearby, one hand resting lightly on his boot, like she wanted to make sure he didn't drift too far. Rowan almost laughs, just a soft breath, because even their exhaustion looks like vigilance. Alia sleeps peacefully in the bed, arms spread wide, no nightmares chasing her. Rowan stretches his shoulders. Ayara turns her head, studies his face, and whispers, "You didn't lie. You watched." "I always will," Rowan says. Ayara stands, steps close, and places her palm on his chest. Not testing him, claiming him. "You're part of this now," she says. "If you want to be." Rowan places his hand over hers, a direct, unwavering answer. "I want to be." Sorian rises next, brushing her hair back. Her eyes meet Rowan's, shy but sure. "Stay with us," she says. "Not just in this house. In this life." Rowan's heart beats harder. He nods once. Not dramatic, real. Ayara's hand slides up to his neck, pulling him down into a slow, certain kiss. Her lips are warm, her fingers firm. There is no hesitation in her. She chooses him boldly. When she breaks away, Sorian steps in close, her breath trembling with emotion. She touches Rowan's cheek gently with both hands and presses her forehead to his, intimate, grounding, before kissing him softly, lingering long enough that Rowan's pulse stirs with heat and hope. He wraps an arm around each of them, drawing them into his chest. No fear left, no distance, only shared breath. Alia stirs in the bed. Rowan instinctively steps back, but Ayara stops him by placing a hand on his arm. "She will understand," Ayara says. "She wants a whole family." Alia blinks awake and giggles sleepily when she sees the three of them together. She climbs up and runs to Rowan, hugging his waist tight. "You're staying," she says, confident. Rowan lifts her easily. "Yeah," he says. "I'm staying." The morning unfolds with purpose. Rowan takes Ayara and Sorian to the nearby market. He speaks to dock operators he knows, gets Ayara a work post hauling nets at midday, where her strength matters more than opinions. Sorian finds a task cleaning and cooking for a stall owner who treats good labor with respect. Whispers still follow them, but this time Rowan walks beside the mothers, hand at Ayara's back, shoulder brushing Sorian's, and eyes warning anyone who wants to challenge their place. By afternoon, neighbors begin nodding in cautious acknowledgement instead of staring. The first step toward belonging. That evening, Rowan cooks a proper meal, Tide boar ribs glazed with Meyer honey, crisp Zyron crumbs, and steamed Draxon mushrooms. They eat together at a table, now too small for what they are becoming. After dinner, when Alia falls asleep, Ayara and Sorian guide Rowan out onto the deck. Warm air brushes across their skin. Lanterns drift like tiny moons along the water. Ayara takes Rowan's face in both hands. "You saved our daughter," she says quietly. "Now we save you from being alone." Sorian folds against his other side, her head resting on his shoulder. "You don't have to pretend you don't need us." Rowan breathes in, slow, steady, the way he used to before stepping onto a battlefield. But this isn't battle. It's home. Ayara kisses him again, deeper this time, and Sorian presses her lips to his jaw, both of them holding him as if he is the missing piece. Rowan wraps them both in his arms, eyes closing as relief floods through him. Not just survival, not just protection, love. True, chosen love. Later, when they curl together in the same bed, Ayara's leg draped over his, Sorian's arm across his chest, Rowan's heartbeat finally slows. The soft rhythm of two women breathing beside him replaces every dark memory he carries. He belongs. They belong. Outside, the tide glows blue under the lanterns. A family sleeps in safety. Not hidden, not afraid. Together. And for the first time in his life, Rowan Cade knows exactly what tomorrow will bring. Love worth waking up for. A future no one can take away. A home built not by walls, but by arms holding him close. The end.